My name's Jeremy Deller and I'm an artist from London. Well, Welcome to the Shitshow is the name of the exhibition, which is the name of a print I made. It was meant to look like some souvenir you'd buy in Camden Market, but Shitshow, instead of saying Welcome to Britain, it said Welcome to the Shitshow, and Shitshow just means, as I understand it, Shitshow is just mess, chaos, and there has been political chaos since the Brexit vote, and it hasn't stopped.
He's ashamed to be here, that's why he doesn't want to be filmed.
I'm not ashamed to be here, I'm just watching the destruction of the EU before my very eyes, and it is so beautiful to watch a fascist, federalist, Soros-run Rothschild project destroyed. To give freedom to British people.
Well said!
And traitors like you, who betrayed my children, my grandchildren.
Each room is a title, like a chapter has a title. And so we have a title for the show, which is like the name of the book, and then you have these chapters, effectively. So warning, graphic content is the first room. Then English Magic, which refers to an exhibition I did called English Magic in Venice. And then there's a room about Brexit, so it's called English Tragic, which I was very proud of coming up with that name. I was very excited by that. This room here is called Bevan Tried to Save the Nation, and that's to do with David Bowie's tour of Britain. And it refers to the person that set up the NHS, an R in Bevan. And it's a line from Star by David Bowie. This room is called Phantom Spirits and Shaman, because there's all of those things here, in a sense. We have the shaman who's behind me, who will be turning, not spinning so much, but turning. So he'd be a kind of a kinetic element in the room. And then we have the First World War work, which is really about spirits of people or phantoms of people. And here we have a kind of myth, again, a mythical scene of death and destruction behind me. So it's like an ancient, almost like an ancient scene, an old master painting of a Greek myth. And the last room it's called Our Hobby is Depeche Mode. This show is, in a way, about the power of popular culture and pop music, but it's also about British history and more complicated recent history of Britain, and how it relates to the past.
We're here because we're here because we're here because we're here. We're here because we're here because we are here because we're here.
Well, you're trying to create a narrative of sorts, or some kind of journey or story for the public, especially if it's more than one room. You're you're choreographing a series of rooms and hopefully creating I suppose you would call it a narrative when you're making an exhibition. You know, to be blunt, to be absolutely blunt, I often makes me feel very depressed, but on the whole, I find just kind of walking through my past sometimes I find quite difficult. I mean, having said that, I've just done a book, and that was just basically looking back and writing about the last 30 years of my life. But I like reimagining things. So here, in this room, we're combining the First World War with Neolithic Britain, which is something I never thought I would do, but it just so happens that it sort of works. This is a room about landscape, effectively. There's two images of landscapes. One's of a grouse moor, and one is of trenches in the First World War. And there's some kind of connection between the two, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. So you are putting things together and you're seeing what happens. So there's a sort of experiment, really, through necessity. But that's fine. I think that's good that the work can change and the work can have new lives and be put with other pieces of work and still survive the experience, we hope.
We call each other depechist. I try to name it like Europeans, but we are called depechist. Depechist, like communist, like fascist, schist.
There's good and bad, really, with Britain. In the way our good influence on the world has been through, of late, of popular culture or pop music, And the film, Our Hobby is Depeche Mode, is about the unexpected effect of this band from Essex, from this not very particularly glamorous place, who made this music, but was adopted by people in the Soviet Union, especially in Eastern Bloc countries in the 1980s and 90s, as this symbol of freedom for themselves, which you could never have predicted, and you could never have made that happen. That just is something that was a phenomena. And that's the sort of beauty of pop music, the way it travels through the world and becomes owned by people. So that's the good side. And then we have, with Putin's Happy, the film Putin's Happy, the influence of Britain and, exterior forces on Britain, but also Britain's role in the world, how it sees itself now, and the extremism and radicalisation within the UK, something we don't really talk about as much. We don't use those terms.
Like, this is racism.
Our nation too.
It's our nation too. Like, we might be brown, but we are British too.
And that also is in the first room as well. There's works referring to that as well. There's a big poster that says, cronyism is English for corruption, which is, it's a play on words really, but it's basically saying that we don't use the word corruption when we talk about ourselves. That's something we only talk about foreign people, but actually we're very good at it as well. We're a centre of it. And that's related again to the film, in the second film, the English Magic film, which is about the footage of the Lord Mayor's show. It's a very strange procession through the streets of Britain once a year, with the Lord Mayor of London, not the Lord Mayor, which is not the Mayor of London, the Lord Mayor of London, who is in the City of London, which is this tiny part of London, which is very powerful. They have their own mayor, their own laws, very opaque, and they have this big celebration of themselves once a year. That's what's filmed there. We live in the past as well as the present. It's all around us in Britain. You're continually reminded of it, and for good and bad. We live with the consequences of history, obviously, and that's something a little bit about this exhibition. Not heavy, I wouldn't say in a heavy-handed way, but I'm interested in how sort of popular culture relates to history of the time and how they are intertwined, and you can't really separate them. And to understand history, you have to see what was going on in popular culture. When you make a work, I think the format or media of it suggests itself to you quite quickly. So if you want to do something about Brexit that makes people understand it or feel what it might have been like to be somewhere or within it, then a film is probably the best thing to do. So the film where Putin's Happy is very noisy and chaotic, and that's what it was like when you were in Parliament Square, but also the whole country. So it's like the country had gone mad, and that film is about a collective madness, I would say, of people who just, a lot of them, their minds had been scrambled by disinformation and the media for years and years. And so you see that in certain people in the film. They just don't know what to think or believe anymore. So there's a lot of confusion. And I kind of feel sorry for them. I do feel sorry for a lot of people in that film. They remind me of members of my family, and they've been really terribly manipulated, I think. And so it's not surprising they believe strange things.